Imagine, for a moment, the Roman Colosseum. 50,000 screaming fans. The emperor is in his royal box, but all eyes are on one man. A man who is technically a slave. Yet, he holds more power over this crowd than anyone. What if I told you that in ancient Rome, some of these slaves, these gladiators, were more famous, more adored, and even wealthier than the emperors who ruled the world? Stick with me, because the truth is far stranger than you can imagine. So, how could a man with no freedom become a god in the eyes of the people? It wasn't just about fighting. It was about something much deeper. Think of it like this. Gladiators were the rock stars of the ancient world. They had merchandise, fan clubs, and their images were everywhere, from oil lamps to mosaics. They were brands. They were superstars. But here's the first twist. Not all gladiators were slaves forced to fight. Many were free men, even aristocrats, who volunteered. Why would anyone risk their life for a career that could end in seconds? For one simple reason: glory. And of course, money. A top gladiator could earn, in a single day, what a Roman soldier made in a year. Some retired as multimillionaires by today's standards. But it was more than just fame and fortune. Gladiators represented something the average Roman craved: virtus, courage, manliness, excellence. In a society obsessed with strength, they were living embodiments of the ultimate ideal. While emperors dealt with politics and bureaucracy, gladiators faced death with grace. They offered a pure, raw spectacle of life and death that no political speech could ever match. Now, let's talk about a specific man. Flamma, a Syrian soldier captured and forced into the arena. He was so skilled, so charismatic, that he was offered his freedom for separate times. The symbol of freedom was a wooden sword called a rudis. For times, the crowd roared for him to be freed. For times, he was offered the rudis. And 4 times, he refused. He chose to remain a gladiator. Why would a man turn down freedom itself? We'll get to that. The fame of these men was insane. Roman women would mix gladiator sweat and skin scrapings into their facial creams, believing it was an aphrodisiac. Graffiti from Pompeii shows declarations of love. Cresson the net fighter is the master of girls. These men weren't just fighters, they were heartthrobs. They were desired by everyone from common women to the wives of senators. Compare this to the emperors. Sure, they had absolute power. But with that power came fear, conspiracy, and constant political maneuvering. Many emperors were despised by the public. They were seen as corrupt or tyrannical. Think of Caligula or Nero. People feared them, but they didn't adore them. Gladiators, on the other hand, offered a pure form of heroism. They were underdogs who could achieve immortality through their bravery in the sand. Let's dive deeper into the marketing machine behind them. Before a big game, programs were distributed listing the names of the gladiators. People would bet heavily. They knew each fighter's stats, their win-loss record, their fighting style. It was the ancient equivalent of fantasy football. And this is where it gets interesting. The promoters, the Lannistas, would create rivalries. They built narratives. Good guys versus bad guys. The powerful Retiarius with his net and trident against the heavily armored Secutor. It was pure theater. And now, for a truly bizarre fact. Some gladiators were so famous, their success became a problem for the emperors. The Emperor Commodus, who you might remember from the movie Gladiator, was obsessed with the arena. He fancied himself a great warrior. He would actually enter the Colosseum and fight. But here's the secret. His opponents were either wounded soldiers or terrified gladiators who were ordered to lose. He would kill exotic animals that were chained up. The crowd saw through it. They cheered, of course, because they had to. But they knew it was a sham. It made them respect the real gladiators even more. Commodus was playing make-believe. The gladiators were the real deal. This brings us back to Flamma, the man who refused freedom 4 times. His choice wasn't about loving slavery. It was a business decision. As a free man, he'd be just another citizen. But as the gladiator Flamma, he was a legend. He had wealth, status, and the adoration of millions. He had more influence from inside the arena than he ever could outside of it. His brand was too valuable to give up. He fought 34 times, won 21, drew 9, and was defeated only 4 times before finally dying in the arena at age 30. He chose to live and die a star. And here's something else you probably didn't know. The most successful gladiators rarely died in the arena. The games were a business. Training a top gladiator was incredibly expensive. It was like owning a Formula One car. You wouldn't want your investment destroyed after one race. Most fights ended with a surrender, not a death. The famous thumbs down gesture is likely a myth. A referee would stop the fight, and the promoter would decide the loser's fate. Killing a crowd favorite was just bad business. So the top-tier fighters, the ones with the biggest followings, often survived to fight another day, building their legend even further. So you have this perfect storm. You have men who embody Roman ideals. You have a public desperate for heroes. You have a sophisticated marketing system building them into celebrities. And you have emperors who, frankly, were often boring, corrupt, or just plain unlikable. The emperor might rule the world, but the gladiator ruled the hearts of the people. They offered an escape. For 90 minutes in the Colosseum, a common person could forget their troubles and watch a real-life superhero defy death. The gladiator's fame was so potent that it threatened the very fabric of Roman power. An emperor could be assassinated, overthrown, forgotten. But the name of a gladiator like Spartacus, Crixus, or Flamma could live on for eternity. They achieved a kind of immortality that even the most powerful rulers could only dream of. They weren't just fighters. They were symbols of hope, courage, and the idea that even a slave could become a king, if only for a day, in the blood-soaked sand of the arena. The emperor had the power of life and death, but the gladiator had something far more powerful, the love of the people. And in the end, that is the only legacy that truly endures. So what do you think? Who was more powerful in the end? The emperor in his box or the gladiator on the sand? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this story as fascinating as I do, hit that like button, share this video with a friend who loves history, and make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what we uncover next. Thanks for watching.